Scott, thanks for coming on Fraud Busting. And we have a lot to talk about. I think you are just awesome. And I've
Well,
followed
thank you.
what you've done for a long time. And I just never had the occasion to get in touch until now.
The same here. I always see on LinkedIn and YouTube and stuff, and it's one of those things where you go, "Oh, I know who that person is." And if somebody were to ask me, I said, "Well, I don't know her, but I know who she is." It's one of those.
Oh yeah, so now we're
So,
pals. So we go way
yeah,
back now.
there you
So
go.
yeah, so you here's what I like about you that I know the most is now are you like the ringleader on the behavior panel, or do you
Well,
guys just come together? What's the story there?
well, what happened? We would hang out anyway, you
Uh-huh.
know. And so Greg, Mark is like, we should do videos, and then Chase is like, we should do a video, and then Greg and I are fairly tight, so we hang a lot. And we're like, why don't we just? And Greg said, why don't we all we'll just do one of these and record it. And we're like, yeah, okay. So, or he called me and said, let's do that. So I sent out a little video to everybody and said, hey, let's do this. And we're like, okay. So we ended up doing the Tiger King first. And it was so fun. We're going to do it anyway. So we're like, let's just record them, instead of just hanging around, let's just start recording them. Because we're at home a lot, that's when our speaking gigs went away.
Mm-hmm.
They're back now, but on
A little
Zoom.
bit,
But
yeah.
we all had our speaking gigs disappear, and we're just dealing, some of us are just dealing with the criminal element. So, and there was nothing fun because you couldn't go out or anything. So we started doing that, and then we said, well, let's just start recording them. Basically, that's what happened. But it was Greg's idea, really.
Oh wow!
Greg
Well, I tell you
Hartman.
what, it's a good one because y'all are so professional, and with the way you do your analysis, I'm like, oh, these guys are the real deal. And so,
No, thank
because
you.
I saw you've done Tiger King, and also I saw the one, I think it was this week, Patsy Ramsey,
Yeah,
and
we did that one.
I am sitting right now about a mile from where the whole Jon Benet thing went down. And
Oh, really?
oh yeah, and there's so much around town about it, and I bump into people all the time. And I loved your analysis. So people listening, you got to go find the behavior panel on YouTube and make sure that you watch the Tiger King analysis, Patsy Ramsey. I'm sure you've done a bunch of other ones that I haven't seen. And
Yeah, we've done politicians, and it's like we run the gamut, like we did Bob Lazar, and you probably get this kind of thing too. We did Bob Lazar, and we were like, hey, this guy's full of it. We got so much hate email and so many hate comments. It was hilarious to go in there and see what they say. Then we did the McCanns, the one whose little kid was missing, got kidnapped when they were eating one evening. And that's the worst. I mean, they call us everything from devil worshippers to working for the government to we're on the McCann's payroll. It gets crazy.
well,
Some
here,
stuff they
and
say.
I think that's what's interesting in our line of work is that people see what we do and hear what we say through their filter. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough of you
Excuse me.
guys to know that you're totally nonpartisan, totally professional with your analysis, don't have any agenda.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like you guys so much, because you can see those hack body language experts on YouTube as well, and you can tell their agenda. And I've had people ask me about, they'll send me something and then they'll tell me I'm on their side. I'm like, no, I'm not on anyone's side. I'm telling
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. As soon as you take a side, then you're out. We like half people think we're hardcore Trumpers. Half the other think we're hardcore Bideners, and it's just like we never lean either way when we're talking about either one of them or anybody politically. That's a
Oh, it's a
bear
nightmare.
trap in there if you get caught in that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
it's
you've
but
gotten the hate mail. I've gotten it. Tanya's gotten plenty of it. I know. So,
oh yeah,
so yeah, it's just part of the lay of the land. And I've even
yeah,
gotten to where I won't even address politics in my keynotes. People ask me, and I'm like,
no,
look, like around the what was that Kavanaugh and that whole
oh
thing with the
yeah,
Supreme Court. And I just said, look, here's the deal. I'm happy to talk to you about this, but we will be in the corner 15 minutes after I'm off stage, and I will tell you. And you're not allowed to come and be mad at me or anything. I'm just going to tell you the
yeah.
deal. So,
Well, I'm always honest about it. And this sounds horrible. It's going to sound like I'm an idiot. Well, I'm an idiot, but I mean, it'll put the stake in the heart of whether I'm an idiot or not. I really don't get into politics.
I don't either.
I'm so disinterested in all that. I could not care either way about any of it. It's one of those things where, and it
Yeah.
sounds terrible because now both sides will hate me, but I just don't care. It's such a mess. I just don't care.
Yeah, I'm a non-political person, but I feel like I get tugged into it from time to time, and I really try to avoid it. So, okay, let's talk about what do you do all day? Because you've written a really cool book. You do the behavior panel. What else goes on for you? You do some speaking. Tell me the range of things, because I know there's some things that even like you may not even be able to share because you're kind of top secret, and that's super cool. But what's forefront of your day usually?
Usually I go through first thing is I go through my email and check the phone, see if I've missed anything. And then if I don't have to go talk to somebody about doing something they shouldn't have done, which usually that'll take most of the from the morning to the afternoon or whatever time it starts, then and this sounds so bad, I'm reading a lot. I'm doing a lot of research. That's so horrible. I'm not a nerd, but it sounds like I'm a nerd when I say that. But I really like reading about human behavior. So I'm looking for whatever's new. What is the new research? What are the new studies? And I can guarantee you, where you live now, there'll be somebody at the nearest university that hates my guts. Wherever the neurology department is, they'll hate me because I'm trying to call them all the time, trying to see if they've done anything new, if they've seen anything new. There's people, there are universities all over the U.S. that there's somebody there in the research department that cannot stand me, and they won't take my calls anymore because they'll take one. Oh yeah, anytime, and I'll call back like later that afternoon and say, "What about this?" And then finally, by the third or fourth call, they're like, "Listen, man, you got to stop calling over here. I think something's wrong with me." But if they'll give up information, I'll go till they quit.
Oh,
but
wow.
So it's usually a lot of reading, a lot of research, and then I'm doing a lot of interviews and a lot of podcast stuff. Like before I was late getting here with you because I thought I was done for the day. I was like, oh wow, I got a whole day, and I thought you were next week, and I was like, which you're not. On my calendar it says you're today, and I'm late. But I thought, I got a whole a couple of hours. I'm out driving around, doing nothing, going, this is nice. I don't get to go out much, so geez.
Surprise!
So yeah. And then come home and get ready. A lot of times we'll do the behavior panel. I'll get stuff ready for that. Greg Hartley's the one that finds the videos and goes, what about this? And I'll talk about it, and we'll throw it to the other two guys, and they're like, yes, no, or whatever. And then so I'll cut those up and get those ready. Like we do our show on Tuesdays and let them go on Thursdays because I edit all day on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a lot of editing. You got like an hour show.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm so horrible at it. It takes me forever. If you saw what I have to do, you'd probably be able to just squirt it out in 2 or 3 hours, but I don't know what I'm doing. That's why sometimes there's mistakes on those things because I don't know. I have no clue what I'm doing. I just got all the stuff you're supposed to get, on your computer to edit stuff together. I was like, I'll do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know. I think you got it. I think you got it dialed in pretty well. I do.
Well, if I have to do anything else but that, not going to happen.
Too good.
It takes me forever.
So how did you end up where you are? Because people ask me all the time, how'd you become a body language expert? What's your story? Because no one, I don't think, sets out to do this. I think it kind of shows up at your door. So what's your?
I've set out to do it when I was 6.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. I've been in this my whole life. I mean, I've been. People get way into it for a while, then it's like when you first find out about psychopathy. Remember when you found out about psychopaths, and then you got in for hardcore for 2 years, and everybody was a psychopath at that point. People go through that phase in body language, and it lasts about 1.5 years, 2 years, and they get out. I got into it when I was 6. Wow. And from that day on, my dad is a doctor, and he got me into it by explaining what behavior I was seeing in people when I'd ask him about it. And he would bring me books and read me stuff and explain things to me. So that's how I actually got started. So I got way up into it and learned how to present things to people from a body language point of view, get their brain open so I could put something in there and have them accept what I was talking about or wanting to do, and been able to do that. So I did that. So I got in the music business for a long time. I was an interrogator at the same time, but I ended up going to Berklee College of Music. And from there, I worked on I became a record producer. I was a studio guitar player for a long time, and then became a producer all the while, still being an interrogator and being into body language. But I did that. The worlds never crossed much. If anybody in one world say, "Did you doing that?" I go, "Yeah." But nobody wants an interrogator to be their producer, or to come play on their record. No, trust me. And so that was, and I've been nominated for a Grammy without winning one more than anybody.
Really?
Oh yeah, since I was 19.
How many times have you been nominated?
I stopped counting when I was in my late 30s, and I'm 57 now, and I retired in 2011. So retired from music anyway.
Wow.
In 2011. So and it was every year would be one or two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but never, but I'm not bitter. That's the thing.
I can see that not bitter on your face, right? So now, are you an independent? Are you with military police? Like, how can you say?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm totally dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a, and that's the first thing I say when I go in for interrogation. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a cop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here to find out what happened. Here to talk about what happened. So, and it's the perfect opener because I can be honest, and that's why I'm there, and that's who I'm not, is I'm not a police officer. But I train them how to run interrogations and how to interrogate.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. So, 2 questions. You can weave them together if you want. What's the craziest case you've worked on that you can talk about? Because I know there's some you can't. And what's your tactic, like, to get people open and talking to you? Because it's all about information recovery, right? By the time you get there.
Well, some of the weirdest things are when you realize you're dealing with somebody who is, and this isn't funny, but I laugh about it because it is funny when I was going through it. There it is. When I was talking to someone who was a schizophrenic, and I didn't know it, and nobody else knew it either. As I'm talking to this person, as we went through the thing, I said, you get toward what I'll call the end, when you're starting to put a little pressure on them, and this person taking some money they shouldn't have taken. I do a lot of embezzlers. For some reason, that ended up being something I was really good at. And this person and they work for a big company that you'd know the name of. Mm-hmm. And the more I press on them, that they started straightening up some. And it was odd behavior I was seeing. Usually they'll put their hands in their lap and they'll start rocking back and forth. And as you know, and the next thing you know, they'll tell you everything. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I got to the point where I said, and you put your hand on them and you go, listen, it's fine, man. It was a woman. And I said, we all make mistakes. Everybody does. I make them. Geez, I make them all the time. Went through that whole thing. And don't you think it's time we went ahead and said, you tell me what happened with all this? And she went like this. She goes, oh, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. And then she told me everything. And then it didn't, obviously they don't know she's schizophrenic. Yeah. But I was like, oh my, because I don't think God's going to come to her and tell her right then. He said, don't do that, before she did it. Uh-huh. So that was one of the strangest things that's happened to me in that world.
So then, okay, so you didn't figure out she was schizophrenic till then, or do you have a diagnostic tool that you use? Because it's a hard one to.
Oh, as soon as she started talking, as soon as she was listening to the Lord, and I knew it, he was talking to her. I had a pretty good idea at that point, because I didn't hear him and I didn't see him. Unless she's got some kind of weird ESP or something. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe in God. I'm a hardcore Episcopal, and don't get me wrong, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite. So that's my line of thinking. So, but when she started that, I automatically knew that was going on. That's after that, it didn't take much to go, I get it at this point. It was sad, it was really sad. But outside of that, that's the only tool I had was, this isn't right, and I know what that is. Mm-hmm.
So other tools to get people to open up. What are you doing? How can people apply that to what they're doing, which is probably not schizophrenics, probably not a lot of interrogations in their life. But tell me that. What's your go-to?
All right. Well, one of the things I do is I train entrepreneurs and people in big companies how to pitch ideas. And I was the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center from 2011 to 2017. Oh, wow. And so when the new entrepreneurs would come in, we had this thing there where I started our pitch department there. And they would come in not knowing anything about pitching. They've never had a business before. They've never done anything like that before, but they need to know how to pitch their product.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this thing called How to Create an Investable Pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran, and so I just like you would train cops or anybody to do something, I trained them in that. And the key was I would train them the things you say and what you do to get that person they're talking to, get their brain open, and you put that little idea of what you want them to do in there. And that's a specific point, you close that brain up. Mm-hmm. And that makes them want to, and the key was getting them to want to help you, not invest in you, but mm-hmm. to want to help you, because it's not like Shark Tank in those pitches. At the end of them, they don't go, okay, well, right, that's just the beginning. The interview pitch is just the beginning, because they want to talk to you later and see who you are and check you out and all those types of things. So, and it's not that I did this and it went well. I've helped entrepreneurs raise almost $500 million. I'll probably be over $500 million, hopefully by the end of I think April, if everything goes well with this one I'm dealing with now. So it'll be over $500 million. And that was the key, was just showing them the things to get people to trust them. I didn't work with anybody that I thought was iffy or that I caught any kind of con on or anything like that, or that I couldn't trust. And there were plenty that I didn't. And plenty of people are mad at me for not working with them. But I would tell them I'm not the person. I would send to my class, but when it came to the actual pitch stuff, to get them in and show them, here's what you need to do. The higher up stuff, I never would take those people in. Oh, wow. So, but there are specific things you can do. One of the main things people don't realize is watching the other person's body language. When you're pitching, let's say you're pitching to 15 people, or sometimes we'd have them pitching to 500 to 1,000 people at once on a stage. The people you would look for aren't the people that are going like this. Anybody smiling, they're not thinking about you. You want somebody that's frowning. Not frowning, but almost. You want them looking at you. You want those eyebrows together, and it's great if their hands are crossed, their hands up near their mouth, and if their legs are crossed. You want everything that says, I'm not into this. That's what you want to see, because they're at that point, they've gone inside and they're running those numbers in their head. Is this going to work in 3 to 5 years? I've got to go tell my wife about this. I'm going to invest in this. I've got to go tell my husband, I'm going to go invest in this. I've got to go back to our company and tell them that's what I'm investing in, our money in. So they're thinking, those are the people you want to focus on. Most people don't even think that way. They just look at people smiling at them.
Ooh, I understand.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's not where you get I used to film or, video the audience as people were pitching. And you'd think I'd be able to go, oh, this person's going to invest. I'd get really close. I only nailed 2 of them, that for sure. I said, this guy's in, and another was a woman. I said, and this woman's in. And those 2 scored. The others, I got really close, but they would always have meetings with them later on. And I think there were more that invested, but not right after that, like I had prophesied they would at that point, because I was so committed to it. But now I've got more figured out. And I still watch those videos of those crowds of people, even if it's 10 people, or like in some cases 500 to 1,000 people. I would get the first few rows and be able to watch them. But but so those are some of the things that entrepreneurs aren't aware of, is not just their own body language, but watching the body language of others. And it's not what you think it should be when you're looking to someone to invest in you. Oh yeah, that is fascinating. And I actually got a deal with a shark. I got a deal with one of the sharks. I did not get on. I did not get airtime on it, but yeah, I got a deal, which failed, but I still got a deal, which is pretty cool. So there is something to that. So do you have like a system, like an opening one-liner to get people to be open to you and your idea, or is it more than we can get into right now? Here's what I found. There are different styles of pitches for different places in the country. Nashville is Nashville is a completely different pitch style than in Austin, which is different in Silicon Valley, which is different in Washington, which is different in Boston. They're all a little bit different. In Nashville, you open up with, here's who I am and what I do and what we're doing. Or you say your name, then you move forward. And then at the end, toward the end, before you're asked, is when you say, here's everyone on our team, here's who we know, here's what we've got going. In Silicon Valley, that's the first thing you say, is I'm so-and-so, and here are the people on our team, here are the people who are going to help us with us, and here's what's happening. So you have that way out there on the West Coast. Then you go to Washington, It's a little different than that. It's sort of a combination of a Nashville and a Boston. And Boston is more like Nashville is mostly healthcare. This is the healthcare mecca here in Nashville. So that pitch, that style, along with the style in Boston, is a combination that is of more personable. You know, you got to be more personal. We're out in Silicon Valley. You save that personal stuff for afterwards. You know, you save them to get in and all those things for afterwards. And those are the ones that score the most out there, that get funded the most out there from the people that I work with and have worked with. So there are different styles and there are different approaches to each one. But the main thing to do is when you pitch, the first thing you want to do, people think you get up and smile. You want to smile when you get in the room. That first 6 to 9 seconds when someone sees you, as you know, that's when you make your decision about that person. You may not realize it. You may not say, you know, I like that person, I want to invest. You're not going to say that, but your brain will see them and go, okay, that person's okay so far. I don't have a problem with that person. When you get up, you hit the ground running, because when you enter that room and you don't have to look at them. You don't want one of those smiles where it's like, really weird looking, but just a pleasant little look on your face. We can go through the study they did at Harvard about that, but it would take too long. I know we don't have a lot of time.
Now, but that is fascinating. I think that's super cool. And people are, I mean, it's the same way we speak. Like my audience is in like Boston area. They're different than California, than like Nashville. I end up there a lot, or Texas. So same kind of thing. They laugh at different things. They receive me differently. And the ones that I have the toughest time with are New Englanders, for whatever reason. Just naturally, it's just a little harder for me to connect with them. So.
Well, usually I lived in Boston for a long time when I went to school up there. And it's that area is a little different than the, where are you? I'm
in Boulder right now. Boulder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're completely different than Colorado. So it's a different mindset there. You know, they're not, I always thought they are nice. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't particularly like living there as much as I like living in Nashville, living in the South, but because they're a little different. So that part I understand. The humor is different. Your delivery's got to be different. The police departments are different up there than they are in New York. You'd think the New York guys would be all these hardcore. They're the ones that laugh the most. They're the easiest to give the shits and giggles to, because they need it. You know.
Oh yeah, it's tough in the city, man. It is tough. Okay, so let's talk about, you have two really cool things I want to talk about. One is your new book, and the other is your, I think it's genius, is your online program, True Crime Workshop, I think it's called.
Oh yeah. Greg and I put that together.
Yeah, true crime is just, man, people are like flies to honey with, I mean, there's whole channels on true crime on TV. So I'll let you pick about what you want to talk about first. Oh yeah, there you go, True Crime Workshop. Yeah.
Usually I have a sign up, but I didn't put it up today.
Well, we got it now. So, so tell me what's in it. What are you doing? How can people get it? What are they going to learn? The whole thing.
Well, Greg Hartley and I started a course called, it's become the #1 online body language course, called bodylanguagetactics.com. And we always add the .com at the end, because that's where it is, bodylanguagetactics.com. And when COVID hit, we sort of became the Tiger King of online courses. Everybody came. You know, we got all kinds of people. So when we started having people, when they finished, they go, "Do you ever do anything about true crime?" And most of it were women. Let's talk about women's brains for a second before I move forward, and I'll tell you why this is so important. Men get a gut feeling, and women have women's intuition. Intuition. That is the most powerful thing, and I'm all the time saying it's the most powerful thing on earth, because women's brains take in information differently than men's brains do. There's people who used to argue about this. We know it's true now from research. But women can see so many different things that men just don't catch because of the way their brain is set up to take in information, so they can communicate better and take care of children, see what's going on around to keep the kids safe and those types of things from the, whatever you want to call that. But so when women started saying, we want to learn about true crime, I like the stuff in body language tactics, but what if you had something about that? We're like, all right, we should do that. So Greg and I talked, and we came up with the True Crime Workshop. And before that, we had this thing called the Liar's Loop, which is one thing we're going to start training, we're writing a book on it now. We're going to start training law enforcement in the military. We've already started training them in this thing called the liar's loop. And basically it goes through, and we use this throughout the course. And once you learn this and you watch one of these true crime shows, you go, holy smokes, I know what this is. I know what this is. I know what this is. I see what's happening. That guy did do it, or that girl did do it. And here's why I think so. Because the liar's loop takes you through, for example, when you lie to someone, step one is or when you commit a crime, you say you kill somebody, then that triggers you to, I need a story. So you start creating a story. And so you go into fabrication. And then once you fabricate and create that story, you go into deconflict. So you have to deconflict what that, all the problems that your story is going to have. So you have time to go back and say, I can't say I was there because this happened. And there was this on the wall. So I've got to say that happened. So you've got all this time to work these things out. Then you go into your pitch. And once you pitch, that's your story. Here's what happened. And then after that, people say, well, what about this? So you have to defend that. And then you have to go back into fabrication, most likely.
Wow.
And so in interrogation, that's in a nutshell, that's what you do. And so once you get them, they go through this loop and you get them having to keep going back to fabricate and add to it. Then they go into the death spiral of a lie. And so that's when you got them. That's when you got them boxed in. So we're showing them how to do that. Nobody's really gone through it like that before, even in interrogation.
Yeah, I like that.
As long as I've been into that, nobody has talked about that, but that's exactly what's happening. And it wasn't I didn't go, here's what I see. Greg Hartley is brilliant when it comes to these types of things. He's the one that said it's a loop, and here it is. I was like, geez, you're right, man. So we teach them how to use the loop, and we walk them through everything from the 911 call all the way down to the confession. So everything they see in these true crime shows, they'll see, and we go through in this course. For example, the 911 call, what happens after that, then all the the next part goes through what happens when the first responders show up. What's going to happen then? What is the body language of that person when they show up? What are the first responders, the ambulance, the paramedics and fire department and police, the first police officers show up? What are they seeing, and how do they know something's not right here? Then after that, you go through the first interaction with the detectives. So what happens at that point? What are they doing with the detectives? What are they seeing? Where do they go from there? So we walk you through, and there's other parts after that. Sure. And we walk you through every bit of that. There are 9 modules, and there are, we say there are 30 videos, but there's like, 50.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's a lot more, but if you go 50, I'm not going to do 50, but they're all short. They're some are 3 minutes and some are 7 minutes. We actually have one that's 9 minutes, but they're really short. So you can get through and you can watch lessons. A new module comes out every week. So you can watch those things all week long. At the end of the week, there's a quiz. So you watch these things, you learn it, and you take a quiz. And then we've already been getting our emails. I can't believe I do this. I can't believe I knew that. And they're pointing out the things they're seeing. So you go, geez, it's working. So it's the True Crime Workshop is at the truecrimeworkshop.com. And you can get there as well from bodylanguagetactics.com. But the truecrimeworkshop.com is where you go. And we walk you through everything that happens at a true crime show. So you can see what's happening. And it's basically what happens in real life, from the 911 call, from the first responders to first contact with investigators, what happens when that. So we just take them from the beginning to the end, all the way down to the confession. So we talk about interrogation, how to get through that. We have a couple of bonus things. One of them is on psychopathy, which is my favorite thing in the world. Psychopaths are talking about that. So we won't, if you don't want to, we won't talk about that, because I'll talk to you about it all day long. But so we have a thing on a module on that. So it's and I'm talking real fast and getting excited because it's been so much fun to do so far, and getting way up in there. And the people that are taking it, we thought with Body Language Tactics, we've got actors, TV show hosts. We have all kinds of people that are taking this thing. And the same thing for the True Crime Network. We're getting we're getting a lot of actors in there. And it's really amazing, the people that are coming through there. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but it's corny, but we've been on one of them's TV show. If you go Google us and see what TV shows we've been on.
Well, I saw you on Dr. Phil. Weren't you on Dr. Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on that. So maybe he's in, but
Ooh.
yeah, but he watches. But anyway, he's subscribed to our channel. He said he watches that all the time.
Oh, cool.
So he's and what a great guy. Well, some people give him a hard time, but he's a great guy.
He's a very skilled interrogator himself. I have a lot of respect.
Let me tell you,
for him.
He has it. He understood when we were what they asked us to do was look at this video of this guy who was a masseuse who had been accused of molesting these women while I was giving massages, right?
Right.
So so I said, while we're talking to him, I said, "Hey man, why can't we just talk to him? Can we just talk to him instead of watching these videos?" And he goes, "Yeah, you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we said, "Here's what we'll do." We set up an interrogation situation, so we would all three be in it. It would start off with Greg Hartley would get up his hind end a little bit and get him kind of heated up, and then Mark Bowden would step in and kind of cool him out a little bit. Then I would come in and say, "Hey, I'm from Nashville. So he would think I'm friendly. Then I'd get him a little bit after that. And then I'd get even more heated on him, and then we'd throw him to Chase at the end, and Chase would be he would be the closer. In other words, be real nice, say, "Hey, man," And so Dr. Phil, he got it instantly. He said, "Okay, I see what you're doing." We didn't have to talk to him much about it. We said, "How's this sound to you if we did this?" He said, "Great, let's do that." We didn't rehearse it or anything, and went through. We got a whole lot of information that this guy hadn't given up yet. If you watch that episode, it's what's his name, Tarek? I can't remember his last name. Anyway. It was really fascinating. None of us could believe how knowledgeable Dr. Phil was about that stuff. He was deep in it.
Well, he was a trial consultant for a long time, I think, in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then Oprah hired him, and that's how everything went.
Yeah, but man, he understood. There was nothing that he didn't understand what we were talking about. So he felt like he was one of us. It was like, so when we talked to him, because we did a Zoom call with him a couple of days beforehand, and just to talk. He said, "Hey, let's talk." And we've done his podcast since then. But he knew it all. He was all up in it. He understood what we were talking about. He knew the different styles of interrogation. He got it all.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't get enough credit for that, I don't think.
Well, he doesn't, because and this is my opinion, and I don't know him, but from what I see with the interviews that he does, I think that he knows that he has to want the next guest to come on the show. So I know there's a lot that he sees that he skips and he doesn't hammer people too hard. And I think that's the Hollywood part that I would do that too if I was him. But that's my thought on Dr. Phil. But yeah, totally skilled from what I can tell. Yeah. So
he's a badass, man.
Oh yeah. Okay, tell us about your book. What's in the book?
Okay. Well, it's one of those books where you can it takes you from the very beginning of understanding body language, hence the title, to it walks through everything from dating, what you're looking for and what you want to put out, to business, to your meetings, to interviews. It covers a little bit of everything. And it's one of those books you can just open it anywhere and no matter where you start reading, you'll learn something. So because I start each section from the beginning, sometimes I'll go back to some things we've talked to before, but you can open it up and start learning right there. I'm really surprised how well it's done so far. Like if you go to Amazon and in the search thing you put in body language, it's like the first book that pops up. You just bounce between 1 and 3.
Ooh,
so I think the goal, the people at Rockridge said, "Hey, look, we just want it to be on the first page of search if you can do it." I was like, "I don't know how to do that, but I'll, just." And I said, "So that's what I said." I said, "So what's good? What are we looking for?" They said, "Just on page 1 of the search in Amazon." And it came up being number 1. It's going between, like I said, number 1, number 3, but it's mostly at number 1. So I'm really surprised by that, I think, and I think they are too.
Oh, so, I wouldn't be surprised with your level of knowledge. I mean, it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's color and
thank you,
and like a lot of pictures and like really cool stuff. So.
Oh yeah, the artwork on that is a guy named Remy, and he's such a wonderful artist. He's done such a great job with that. And I would give them pictures from everything from people who were pitching their ideas. I'd say, "Here's what this look like," to talk show hosts. And then they'd send me the things. "Well, how does this look for this?" I'm like, "I can't tell you that this is exactly what I'm talking about. These are perfect." He did such a great job on those.
Oh, I love
such a great job.
Yeah, I worked with a cartoonist on my book as well, and I sent him some samples, and I love to get the pictures back. It's like, "Oh, look, it's perfect."
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. All right, so we don't have a lot of time. I know you got to go do some top secret stuff right now. So if you had one tip that you could leave people with on how to read people or detect a lie. I'll let you take it where you want to go, but like one final tip. What do you got?
And this is my soapbox. I did a whole TEDx talk on this. There are no absolutes. And by that, I mean, just because, and I can talk about noses because I got a huge nose. Just because somebody scratches their nose, it doesn't mean they're lying. Just because someone's arms are crossed, it doesn't mean they're not into what you have to say or they're turned off. There's a thing called the 735 or 738-55 rule of communication. What you'll see, you'll hear people open up with that, and it says and it's not true. It says communication is 7% the words we use, and 38% the tone of voice, and then 55% body. And it's so people hear that, and when it just has pervaded for years and years, and it's not true. So I would say my thing would be understand that there are no absolutes. You have to take what you're seeing, someone's body language, and take into context what's happening around them at the time you see that. That's the key. Is not just looking at the one thing, the one shoulder go up. So what? It depends on what else is going on in that situation. I could be here talking to you and it goes up like that. But I'm just giving you information. I'm not wasn't asked a question. I'm saying, here, check that out. It doesn't mean anything, So there are no absolutes. You have to take into consideration what's going on around that person in real time before you can start making decisions about what you're seeing.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's awesome advice. I love that.